Hi, this is Ivona, and in today's video I will show you the difference between a full frame camera and a crop sensor camera. Hi, thank you so much for joining me again here on this channel. If you have not subscribed yet, so please do. And now I'm going to show you a little bit about cameras. Recently I uploaded a video where I showed you what cameras and what lenses I use, and I promised to show you what's exactly the difference between a APSC or APS-H, so-called crop sensor cameras, and a full frame camera. So it's a difference in the sensor size. Before we had digital cameras with electronic sensors, we had cameras where you could just put a film inside, and the size of the film kind of determined the size of a full frame camera sensor size. But what it turned out, it was quite expensive to create those, so that in the end cameras became quite expensive. And just to bring the cameras to more people, so that more people could afford to get themselves a nice camera, they created a few more types of lenses. They created a few more different types of camera sensor that were smaller than the size of the film roll that we had before. So now on the screen you can see different sensor sizes, and the biggest one you can see here is the full frame, which is 35mm sensor size. So it's the same as that film that we would put inside a camera. Then we have the smaller ones, which are colored blue and red. Those are APS-C sensor, and they are smaller and smaller ones. But the ones that we usually have with the exchangeable lenses cameras are either full frame or that APS-C or APS-H cameras. So right now on the screen you can see a little bit of camera, and then inside there is a sensor. And with that particular lens that I have right now, that you can have this view captured in your frame. But if your sensor was smaller, like the blue one, then you would be able to capture a little bit of less of that view. So it means that with the smaller sensor your image would look like it was cropped from a bigger format. So if there are two people with the same lenses standing one next to another, the first one took a photo and they can actually have a little more space in their photo, a little more frame. The second one would have the image a little cropped. So if the second person with the smaller sensor camera wanted to capture the same amount of space, they would have to get back a little. So it means they have to have like a little more of a distance between them and the subject they want to photograph. And with that, there are a couple of things. First of all, if, for example, those two people had an 85mm lens, the second one had to go back. So it kind of feels that they had a longer lens. They would have to take that 85mm lens and then multiply it by 1.5, which is the difference between the sizes of the cameras, and that will give them around 120 or something millimeter lens, which doesn't mean that actually using a different lens. They just have the feeling of having a longer lens because they have to step back a little more. But it doesn't provide the same depth as a longer lens. It's still the same lens. Then the second thing is that, well, this is a smaller sensor, so it actually captures like less light, so it tends to have a little more noise because it doesn't have enough light on the sensor. And there's the third thing that goes with that, is that when you photograph a subject and you're standing very close, then you get a more shallow depth of field. Whilst with the same subject and you photograph them from further away, that's when your depth is bigger. So it means, so with those APS-C, APS-H, crop sensor cameras, you have to step back, and therefore your depth of field is bigger, so you're not able to blur the background as much as you could with a full frame camera, with the same lens, of course. So there are a couple of things that, on one hand, those crop sensor cameras will definitely be cheaper for you, so more affordable, more people can get them, but you'll have to have different lenses for those. Because if you buy a 50mm lens for your APS-C, APS-H sensor camera, that will be as tight as the 95. And indoors, that will be sometimes too tight to capture a situation like a portrait indoors. So you have to have like a wider lenses, and therefore there are like other features that goes with those lenses. If you use like a very long lens, you have to keep a bigger distance, and you will never get the same results because you will always have to stand a little further away. So I hope that video was helpful, and now you know like whether you actually want to go for a cheaper APS-C or APS-H sensor camera, or you want to go for a more expensive full frame. For a photographer, there will be a difference. You will see as a photographer that there is a huge difference between those lenses. If you are someone that just receives, if you are your own client, you know what I mean, like your client will not see the difference between your that you change your camera body from a full frame, from a crop sensor to a full frame, because they wouldn't know anyway. But for you, you will see that you can just get more depth. So again, I hope this video was helpful. If you want to see how I edit my photos, you can always go to my website, iwonapodlesinska.com. I have some tutorials for you. I also travel with workshops, so if you want to meet me for a workshop, shoot together, and create magical photos together, please also check my website for workshops. I do travel around Europe and USA and some other places as well. So thank you so much, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!